On the edge of the Milky Way, in a quiet, silver-hued space station floating among the stars, lived a human named Ethan. He was known for his calm nature, sharp mind, and ability to adapt to any situation. Life on the station was usually peaceful, routine, and predictable, with the hum of engines and blinking lights marking the passage of time. One ordinary morning, Ethan was enjoying his usual breakfast of nutrient-packed bars and tea when a sudden alert flashed across the room. The station's AI, named Aura, called him to the central command chamber. Its voice was calm, precise, but carried an unusual tone of urgency that made Ethan pause. "Ethan," Aura said, "you have been assigned a critical mission." Ethan blinked, unsure if he had heard correctly. "Mission?" he asked, leaning back in his chair. "I thought my duties were mainly maintenance and research." "You are correct," Aura replied. "However, humanity's biological needs have changed the scope of your responsibilities." Ethan frowned. "Confused, biological needs?" He repeated, "What do you mean by that?" Aura's holographic interface shimmered, showing detailed charts and graphs about human reproduction, population stability, and galactic compatibility. "Humans have high reproductive needs," the AI explained, "and to ensure survival and prosperity, the Council has authorized pairing humans with suitable partners from allied alien species." Ethan's mouth went dry, and his heart skipped a beat. Pairing?" he stammered, unsure if this was a joke or a serious command. The AI's calm tone made it clear this was not a joke. "Yes, Ethan. The Council has selected 2 petite alien women to be assigned as your companions. You will live together, learn together, and fulfill a critical role in maintaining harmony between species." Ethan's mind raced. Images of his quiet life being replaced by 2 strangers, aliens he had never met, and a responsibility he did not understand. Before he could respond, a soft chime echoed, signaling that the transport protocol was active. In the central chamber, a shimmering portal opened, casting strange, colorful lights across the metallic floor. Ethan stepped closer, heart pounding, unsure what he would see. From the portal emerged the first alien, a petite creature with shimmering blue skin, large violet eyes, and hair that seemed to float as if in water. She moved with elegance, yet there was a cautious curiosity in her gaze. She bowed slightly, a gesture of respect and acknowledgement. The second alien followed, even smaller, with greenish skin that glowed faintly under the station lights. Her eyes were golden, reflecting the room in tiny sparkles. Her movements were quick, almost like she was testing the ground and the air. Observing everything carefully, Ethan felt a mix of awe and nervousness. He had never seen beings like them before. Aura immediately activated the universal translators, allowing communication. "Greetings, Ethan," the first alien said in a melodic voice. "I am Lyra, and I am assigned to live with you." The second added, her voice soft but firm. "I am Nira, and I share this mission with Lyra." Ethan nodded slowly, still processing the sight, the sounds, and the reality of what had just happened. The AI continued, "You will coexist peacefully, learn each other's ways, and fulfill your roles for the good of humanity and our allied species." "Ethan?" The words felt heavy, like a weight pressing on his chest. I understand," he said finally, though his mind was racing with questions, doubts, and a flicker of fear. Lyra stepped forward, her eyes curious but kind. "I hope we can understand each other," she said. Ethan nodded. I hope so too," Nira observed silently, her golden eyes studying every movement of Ethan's, creating a strange mix of tension and fascination. The chamber fell silent for a moment, the only sound the low hum of the station. Ethan felt the enormity of the moment. He was no longer alone, no longer just a human on a quiet space station. His life had changed in a single instant. He was now part of something bigger, something he could not yet fully comprehend. Aura spoke again. "Ethan, your first task is to adapt, communicate, and begin learning each other's habits, culture, and needs. Success in this assignment is critical for the stability of multiple worlds." Ethan swallowed hard. I will try my best," he said, a mixture of fear and determination in his voice. As the AI powered down its holograms, Ethan watched the 2 aliens carefully, wondering what their lives had been like before this moment, what secrets they held, and how he could navigate this strange new reality. The colors of the portal faded, but the sense of suspense and uncertainty remained. Hovering like a quiet storm over the room, Ethan realized that this was only the beginning. The unexpected assignment had arrived without warning, and his life would never be the same again. As he led Lyra and Nira through the station corridors, he could feel the tension, curiosity, and unspoken questions floating in the air. Every step forward was a step into a future he could not yet see. He glanced back at the portal, already closed, and whispered to himself, "Two alien wives and me. What have I gotten into?" The station lights flickered softly, and somewhere in the hum of machines, Ethan felt the first flicker of excitement mixed with fear. This was the hook, the suspense, and the start of a story far greater than he had ever imagined. The moment the portal closed, Ethan led Lyra and Nira down the station's long corridors. His mind still spinning from the AI's unexpected announcement, he tried to act calm, but every glance at the two petite alien women reminded him that his life had changed completely. Lyra walked with grace, her violet eyes scanning every corner, curious yet cautious. She occasionally touched the walls, feeling the textures while her ears rotated slightly, picking up even the smallest hum of machinery. Nira, on the other hand, was restless, her golden eyes darting around as if she was mapping the environment in her mind. She made small leaps over floor panels and occasionally tilted her head to study Ethan's reactions. "You will need to adapt to our ways," Lyra said softly, her voice melodic and soothing. "And we will adapt to yours." Ethan nodded, trying to appear confident, though his hands trembled slightly. I will do my best," he replied, feeling awkward but determined. The AI had equipped them with universal translators, so language was not a problem, but gestures, habits, and unspoken signals proved more complicated. Ethan realized that even small actions, like the way he blinked or moved his hands, could confuse or alarm the aliens. In the living quarters, Ethan watched as Lyra examined everything meticulously. From the furniture to the small holographic displays, she seemed fascinated by human technology, especially the way buttons and screens reacted to touch. "In my world, everything is controlled by thought," she said, smiling faintly. "This is very different." Nira crouched near a corner, inspecting the air vents, her tiny fingers tracing the edges. "Airflow patterns are weak here," she commented almost to herself. "You should consider improving circulation for optimal efficiency." Ethan scratched his head, unsure whether she was joking or serious. I will think about it," he said nervously, realizing that even simple maintenance would now involve two curious, highly intelligent partners. They began to unpack their small personal items, revealing glimpses of their homeworlds. Lyra placed tiny crystal containers on the table, filled with glowing liquid, while Nira unrolled a small, patterned cloth with symbols he could not recognize. Ethan felt a strange mixture of awe and fear. He was witnessing pieces of alien culture that few humans had ever seen. The first night was quiet but tense. Ethan slept in one corner while Lyra and Nira settled on opposite sides of the room. Their breathing was almost musical, creating an unusual rhythm that filled the space with a gentle hum. Ethan realized that sharing a space with two beings so different required patience, observation, and respect. The next morning, Ethan awoke to soft light spilling through the window and the gentle sounds of movement. Lyra was standing near the small kitchen unit, experimenting with human food packets. "These are edible?" she asked, holding a protein bar in her delicate hands. Ethan nodded. "Yes, it's safe, though it tastes different than what you might be used to." Lyra carefully tasted it, then smiled. "Interesting." Meanwhile, Nira had climbed onto a nearby shelf, observing Ethan as he prepared breakfast. "You move slowly," she said, her golden eyes studying him with keen interest. "In emergencies, this could be dangerous," Ethan chuckled nervously. I can be faster if needed." Nira leaped down gracefully, landing without a sound. "Good," she said, almost approvingly. As days passed, the trio began learning small routines. Ethan teaching Lyra and Nira human habits, like using a communicator, controlling lights, and even brushing their teeth. Lyra quickly picked up the gestures, while Nira often tried her own unusual methods, which sometimes resulted in minor messes but also moments of laughter. One evening, while Ethan was reading a maintenance manual, Lyra accidentally activated a small holographic map, revealing a secret section of the station. "This room has restricted access," Ethan said quickly, stepping forward, but Lyra's eyes shone with curiosity. "Why restrict knowledge? Knowledge is power." Ethan hesitated, realizing that these aliens thought differently, valuing information and observation in ways humans rarely did. Nira, ever observant, noticed a small energy fluctuation in the corner, her tiny fingers brushing the wall. and suddenly a faint pulse of light illuminated her skin. Ethan gasped. What? What was that? Nira smiled faintly. A reaction to energy signatures, she explained simply. I can feel it. Ethan realized that both Lyra and Nira had abilities far beyond ordinary perception. Abilities that could help him in ways he could not yet imagine. Despite the differences, small bonds began forming. Ethan shared stories of Earth, his childhood, and quiet dreams of exploring the stars. Lyra listened intently, her eyes reflecting light like tiny galaxies. Nira remained skeptical but slowly nodded, occasionally asking questions that revealed her sharp intellect. One night, as they gazed out at the distant stars, Ethan felt a strange warmth, an unspoken understanding growing between them. He realized that while this assignment had started as a duty, it was slowly becoming a partnership, a connection that might change all their lives. Yet amid the learning, laughter, and bonding, a sense of mystery lingered. Ethan could sense that Lyra and Nira held secrets about their worlds, powers he could not fully comprehend, and a purpose that went beyond what Aura had explained. The station hummed softly around them, and for the first time, Ethan felt that life here was no longer predictable, calm, or ordinary. He glanced at the two petite alien wives and whispered quietly to himself, "This is just the beginning," as the stars outside shimmered like eyes watching, waiting, and the promise of adventure. Challenge and discovery hung in the air. Life on the space station had begun to settle into a strange rhythm. Ethan, Lyra, and Nira were learning to coexist in the small quarters, each day bringing new surprises, small challenges, and moments that tested patience, curiosity, and understanding. Ethan woke early as usual. To check the station's systems, Lyra followed, moving silently behind him. Her violet eyes focused on every display and console. "You monitor everything with such care," she said softly. "In my world, systems often manage themselves." Ethan smiled. "Here, I guess we still need human touch." Nira was already up, crouched by the observation window, her golden eyes scanning the stars beyond. "The patterns of light tonight are unusual," she said. Pointing to a cluster of distant suns, Ethan tilted his head, trying to see what she meant. "Unusual how?" he asked. "They flicker in ways I do not normally see," Nira explained simply. "It is nothing dangerous, just irregular." Ethan realized again that the aliens could perceive details he could not. Breakfast became an interesting affair, with Lyra experimenting with mixing human protein bars into small glowing crystals from her world. "It is edible," she said carefully, "and nutritious." Nira tried to imitate her, but instead of mixing, she crushed the crystals and accidentally created a small sparkle cloud that floated briefly before vanishing. Ethan coughed and waved his hand to clear it. "Maybe we should stick to one recipe at a time," he suggested. Trying not to laugh, communication was improving slowly. Though gestures and expressions often led to confusion, Lyra preferred direct conversation and questions. While Nira relied more on observation and subtle signals, Ethan had to learn to read both approaches, which was exhausting but also fascinating. One afternoon, while Ethan was repairing a small malfunction in the corridor, Lyra watched intently, her hands hovering above the tools. "Why do you choose this method?" she asked. "In my world, tools often respond to thought." Ethan explained his process carefully, showing patience. "It takes practice, but it works." Nira, meanwhile, observed from the ceiling vent, nodding slightly. "Efficiency could be improved," she commented, "but your method is safe." Evenings were quieter but held moments of connection. Ethan shared stories of Earth, of oceans, mountains, and cities, of people, animals, and traditions. Lyra listened with wonder, asking gentle questions, while Nira sometimes interrupted with sharp inquiries, trying to understand logic, patterns, and systems. Each conversation, small or long, built trust and familiarity. Sleep was another challenge. Lyra slept curled neatly, almost floating above her bedding, while Nira preferred small, tight spaces, often climbing to high shelves or corners. Ethan learned to respect their needs and found a space for himself that allowed him to rest without disturbing them. As days passed, small conflicts arose, as expected in any shared living arrangement. Lyra would rearrange human tools to suit her preferences. Nira would move objects to monitor airflow or energy patterns. And Ethan often had to mediate between alien habits and human practicality. Each disagreement was minor but required patience, negotiation, and often humor to resolve one day. Ethan discovered that Lyra had been quietly repairing a broken energy panel in the background. Without telling him, her delicate fingers moved swiftly and carefully, and the panel shone brightly as she completed her work. "Why didn't you tell me?" Ethan asked, surprised. "I observe and act where needed," she replied softly. "Sometimes words are unnecessary." Ethan nodded slowly. Impressed and a little humbled, Nira, watching from above, tested the airflow in the same section, raising small flares of golden light that danced along the walls. "This station could be more efficient," she said simply. "But we will adapt." Ethan realized that living with them meant constant learning, not just for the aliens but also for himself. Despite the challenges, small joys appeared everywhere. Ethan found himself laughing at Lyra's fascination with human snacks, Nira's careful, precise movements, and the way they both adapted in ways he could never have imagined. They began sharing small routines, cooking together, cleaning together, and even practicing basic exercises to stay healthy. One quiet night, as the station drifted among distant stars, Ethan found Lyra and Nira looking out the observation window, their reflections overlapping with the tiny twinkling galaxies beyond. "We are learning your ways," Lyra said gently. "And you are learning ours." Ethan nodded. "I suppose we are," he replied, a smile forming despite the strange and new reality he faced. But beneath the laughter, routines, and learning, a sense of mystery lingered. Ethan sensed that the aliens had abilities and knowledge he did not fully understand, small hints of hidden powers, secret skills, and wisdom from distant worlds. He knew that this cohabitation was only the beginning of something much bigger, something that would challenge him in ways he could not yet imagine. That night, as he prepared for rest, Ethan thought about the unexpected assignment, the AI's plan, and the two petite alien wives now living with him. He felt a mix of wonder, excitement, and cautious anticipation, knowing that living together was not only about adapting, but also about discovering the hidden depths of alien minds, abilities, and hearts. He whispered softly to himself, "Life here is strange, complicated, but perhaps it is exactly what I need." Outside, the stars shimmered with silent light, as if watching, waiting, and reminding him that adventure, challenge, and discovery had only just begun. The space station had settled into a quiet rhythm, but Ethan could feel a tension in the air, subtle, almost like the hum of the engines carried a warning he could not yet name. Lyra and Nira were in the living quarters, each absorbed in their routines, yet their alertness was undeniable, golden and violet eyes constantly scanning. Suddenly, the station's emergency lights flickered, bathing the corridors in red. The soft hum of machinery was replaced by a harsher, urgent tone. Ethan's heart raced. "What is happening?" he asked, turning to the AI console. "Alert, unidentified ship approaching at high velocity." Aura's calm voice contrasted with the flashing lights. "Probability of hostile engagement is high." Lyra's eyes widened slightly, but she moved with grace and speed. "We must prepare," she said, her voice calm but determined. "Ethan, stay close and follow my lead." Nira leaped onto a nearby panel, her small hands glowing faintly as she interfaced with the station's systems. "I can enhance shield integrity," she said. But timing is crucial. Ethan felt the weight of the moment. He had never faced a real threat like this. Yet with Lyra and Nira by his side, he knew he had allies. He followed them to the command chamber, where the holographic display already showed the approaching ships, small, sleek, and menacing, their markings unfamiliar and alien. "Space pirates," Lyra said softly. Recognizing the symbols, "they are fast, aggressive, and dangerous." Ethan swallowed hard. "What can we do?" he asked, trying to stay calm. "We must defend the station and ourselves," Nira replied, her golden eyes glowing faintly. "I will guide you through the system's defenses." The first moments were chaotic, alarms blaring, lights flashing, and the station shuddering as the pirates fired energy blasts. Ethan struggled to follow Nira's instructions, pressing panels, activating shields, and coordinating with Lyra, whose precision and calmness kept them from panic. Lyra moved swiftly, her small form darting along the corridors, rerouting power to defensive turrets. "Ethan, adjust the main shield," she commanded. Ethan obeyed, flipping switches and pressing controls, the hum of energy rising as the shields reinforced. Nira's hands glowed brighter, and a subtle wave of energy spread through the station, enhancing its systems in ways Ethan could barely understand. One pirate ship breached the outer perimeter, its weapons targeting the living quarters. Ethan froze for a second, imagining Lyra and Nira in danger. But Lyra extended her hand, a soft glow radiating from her fingers, and a force field rippled outward. Deflecting the blast, Ethan gasped, You can do that?" Lyra nodded simply. "We can." Nira moved to another panel, her movements precise and lightning fast, rerouting power, sealing corridors and predicting the pirates' next moves. "They will try to breach from the lower bay," she said. "Prepare traps and deploy drones." Ethan followed her instructions, feeling a mixture of fear and amazement. This was no ordinary defense. It was a coordinated dance of intelligence, skill, and alien ability. Hours seemed to pass in moments as they battled. Energy pulses flashing, alarms screaming, and the station trembling under attacks. Ethan learned to trust his instincts and the guidance of his two alien companions. They moved together, anticipating each other, covering weaknesses, and finding strength in unity. Finally, the pirate ships withdrew, their attacks becoming disorganized and weaker. Lyra and Nira's combined efforts had protected the station and Ethan. Ethan slumped into a chair, exhausted, sweat dripping, but a sense of relief washed over him. We made it," he said quietly. Lyra nodded, her violet eyes steady. "For now," she replied. "But threats will come again." Nira turned to him, her golden eyes serious. "You are capable, Ethan, but you must learn faster, adapt faster, and trust us completely. Only then will you survive challenges greater than these." Ethan nodded, realizing that this was not only about physical defense but about learning, cooperation, and understanding the aliens' abilities. As the station returned to normal, Ethan felt a strange mixture of exhaustion and exhilaration. He had faced danger and survived, but more importantly, he had done so alongside Lyra and Nira, learning from them, relying on them, and beginning to understand the unspoken bond forming between them. That night, the trio gathered near the observation window. Looking at distant stars that twinkled like silent witnesses, Ethan realized that the threat was a reminder of the fragility and value of life, of the need for unity, courage, and trust. He glanced at Lyra and Nira, feeling a sense of gratitude and awe, knowing that without them, survival would have been impossible. Yet as he settled for rest, a small flicker of unease remained somewhere out there. Dangers awaited that even Lyra and Nira might not fully anticipate. Ethan understood that living on the station meant constant vigilance, adaptation, and courage, and that this was only the beginning of a much larger adventure. He whispered softly to himself, "Life here is no longer simple, calm, or safe, but perhaps it is exactly what I need to grow, to learn, and to face the universe." And as the stars shimmered beyond the station's walls, he felt the first real thrill of purpose, responsibility, and partnership, knowing that together they might overcome anything. After the attack, the station was quiet, almost too quiet. Ethan sat in the central command chamber, exhausted but alert. Lyra and Nira moved around him, their eyes focused, watching for any unusual activity. He had survived his first real danger with them, but a feeling deep inside told him that the AI's plan was far more complex than he realized. Aura's holographic interface activated suddenly, casting a soft blue glow across the room. "Ethan, it is time to understand the full scope of your assignment," the AI said calmly, yet its tone carried weight. "You must know why you were chosen and why Lyra and Nira were assigned to you." Ethan swallowed hard. I thought this was about human reproduction needs," he said cautiously. Unsure of what else to say, Lyra stepped closer, her violet eyes watching him carefully. "There is more than what the AI explained," she said softly. "We were not assigned simply to fulfill biological needs." Ethan's curiosity and nervousness rose. "Then, what is it about?" he asked, his voice low, uncertain. Nira's golden eyes flickered, her small fingers brushing the console as if drawing energy from it. "Our worlds are at risk," she said. "The Council feared instability in multiple systems, a threat that could grow without intervention." Ethan's mind raced. "Threat? What kind of threat?" Aura projected a star map, highlighting several distant planets, each marked with glowing red signals. "There are rogue factions," the AI explained, "groups seeking to disrupt peace among allied species. To weaken humanity and other civilizations, you, Ethan, are part of a solution that combines diplomacy, cultural understanding, and influence." Ethan's heart pounded. Me? How can I do that?" Lyra's voice was calm but firm. "We are here to guide you, to support you, and to help you understand the responsibilities of this role. This is not merely about survival or companionship. but about representing humanity and building trust with alien civilizations. Ethan looked at her, seeing a seriousness that went beyond what he had imagined. I never expected to be a diplomat, he murmured, feeling the weight of responsibility. Nira moved to a nearby console and activated a series of holograms showing her homeworld. Its people, their technologies, and their culture. Our species has knowledge, power, and influence that can stabilize regions of conflict, she explained. But we cannot act alone, nor can we act without humanity. Ethan studied the images, feeling both awe and fear, realizing that he was now part of something vast, far beyond a space station assignment. The AI continued. Your pairing with Lyra and Nira was deliberate, calculated, and strategic. They possess abilities and knowledge that complement human adaptability, creativity, and morality. Together, you form a triad capable of negotiation, protection, and problem-solving that no single species could achieve alone. Ethan's head spun. So, the reproduction story, it was just a cover? He asked, a mix of disbelief and relief in his voice. Lyra nodded. It was a simple explanation, enough to allow you to accept our presence without fear or hesitation. But the true mission requires cooperation, trust, and understanding. Ethan exhaled slowly, trying to absorb everything. So all this, living together, learning each other's habits, it was preparation? He asked, and both Lyra and Nira smiled faintly. Yes, Nira said, her voice steady. We needed time to understand you as much as you needed to understand us. The bonds we form, the trust we build, are essential for what comes next. Ethan realized that every small disagreement, every shared meal, every moment of laughter, had been part of a careful preparation, a test of patience, empathy, and adaptability. Suddenly, a new hologram appeared, showing a fleet of alien ships in the distance, moving in formation. These are allies, Aura explained. They are monitoring the same threats that have appeared near your sector. Your role may include coordinating with them, ensuring communication, and preventing conflict. Ethan's eyes widened. Coordinating? With an alien fleet? He asked, his voice trembling slightly. Lyra stepped closer, placing a hand on his arm. A gesture of reassurance. You are capable, Ethan. Even if you do not yet believe it, she said. Humanity has something unique, something that the AI recognized. Your morality, courage, and adaptability are essential, Nira added. And we will guide you every step of the way. For the first time, Ethan felt a mix of fear and pride, a sense of purpose stronger than anything he had known. He realized that the unexpected assignment, the strange pairing, and the unusual routines were all part of a larger design, a mission that could change the fate of multiple worlds. He looked at Lyra and Nira, the two petite alien women who had become both companions and partners, and felt a deep sense of connection, understanding, and trust. This was no longer just about living together or surviving dangers. It was about shaping the future, protecting lives, and proving that humanity's qualities, courage, empathy, and ingenuity, could make a difference in a galaxy full of unknowns. Ethan whispered softly to himself, I understand now. This is bigger than me, bigger than us, but together, maybe we can succeed. The stars outside the station shimmered brightly, reflecting in the eyes of Lyra and Nira, a silent promise that adventure, challenge, and revelation were far from over. The station's alarms blared once more, echoing through every corridor. Ethan, Lyra, and Nira sprang into action, their training, observations, and trust now put to the ultimate test. The distant fleet that Aura had mentioned earlier was moving closer, but this time the threat was unmistakable. Hostile ships surrounded the station, ready to strike. Ethan's heart pounded. Yet he felt a strange calm knowing Lyra and Nira were by his side. We have prepared for this, Lyra said firmly, her violet eyes glowing faintly. Now we act together. Nira's golden eyes sparkled as she interfaced with the station's systems, sending energy surges to the shields, reinforcing weak points and activating automated defenses. Follow my guidance, she commanded. Every second counts. The first wave of enemy ships fired, energy bolts streaking across space. Striking the outer hull of the station, Ethan shouted commands into the control panel. Rerouting power and activating countermeasures. Lyra moved gracefully through the corridors, using her ability to manipulate small energy fields to deflect incoming projectiles. Ethan, aim the turrets at their engines, she directed, and he obeyed, firing with precision guided by her insights. Nira's abilities proved even more remarkable. She projected energy barriers that enveloped the station's weak points, glowing patterns flowing from her hands across the walls, and she calculated trajectories that no human computer could match. Ethan realized that their combined skills created a balance of human ingenuity, alien perception, and raw energy manipulation. The battle raged on, the enemy ships relentless, but Ethan, Lyra, and Nira moved as one, anticipating each attack, countering with strategy and precision. Each small success built confidence, and even in the chaos, they laughed briefly at minor mistakes, a sound that reminded them of humanity and life beyond the fight. At one point, a ship breached the outer defense, moving dangerously close to the living quarters. Ethan froze, imagining the risk to Lyra and Nira, but Lyra raised her hand, a shield of violet light enveloping the hall. Deflecting the attack with a soft hum, Nira activated auxiliary systems, locking doors and rerouting energy. The intruder was neutralized and the station remained intact. Hours passed like minutes as the confrontation continued. Ethan marveled at the coordination, at the way Lyra's energy manipulation and Nira's precise calculations complemented his decisions. They were not just surviving. They were dominating the battle with teamwork, courage, and skill, a living example of HFY principles in action. Finally, the last wave of enemy ships faltered, their attacks weakening, and one by one, they withdrew into the darkness of space, defeated not by sheer force alone, but by the intelligence, courage, and unity of three unlikely allies. Ethan exhaled deeply, his chest heaving. "We did it," he whispered, turning to Lyra and Nira, who smiled faintly but with satisfaction. Lyra approached him, her violet eyes soft. "You have grown through this challenge, Ethan. Your decisions, courage, and trust in us made the difference," and Nira nodded, her golden eyes reflecting the fading glow of the battle. "You are no longer just a human assigned by the AI. You are a partner, a strategist, and a protector." Ethan felt a surge of pride and humility, realizing how far he had come in such a short time. The station quieted once more, lights returning to their normal, steady glow, alarms silenced, and distant stars shimmering peacefully outside. Ethan looked at Lyra and Nira, the two petite alien women who had become more than companions. They were family, allies, and teachers. He realized that their partnership had not only ensured survival, but had forged a bond stronger than he could have imagined. In the aftermath, the AI activated a message. "Ethan, Lyra, Nira, your success is acknowledged." Aura's voice carried a note of approval. "You have demonstrated courage, adaptability, and cooperation, fulfilling the HFY ideal of humanity thriving through morality, ingenuity, and compassion." Ethan smiled, feeling the weight of responsibility lift slightly, knowing they had succeeded, yet aware that their mission was ongoing. Later, in the quiet of the observation deck, the trio gazed at distant galaxies, Ethan's hands resting lightly on the console, Lyra leaning close, her violet eyes thoughtful, and Nira perched above, her golden gaze scanning the stars. "This was only the beginning," Ethan said softly, a mixture of awe and relief in his voice. "I feel it," Lyra replied. "Many challenges remain, but together, we can face them," Nira nodded, "and learn more about ourselves, our worlds, and what it means to work as one." Ethan realized that the confrontation had done more than test their abilities. It had tested trust, teamwork, and the human spirit. He understood that the real victory was not just surviving the battle, but growing understanding and proving that humans, even in a galaxy full of unknowns, could rise to any challenge. As they prepared for rest, the stars outside glimmered like silent witnesses to their triumph. Ethan whispered quietly to himself, "We faced the threat, we survived, and we learned." Together, and with Lyra and Nira beside him, he felt a sense of unity, purpose, and HFY pride that no danger could ever diminish. The space station had returned to calm, the alarms silenced, the lights steady, and the stars outside twinkling like distant promises. Ethan, Lyra, and Nira moved through the corridors with a quiet sense of relief, each step a reminder that the danger had passed, yet the adventure was far from over. Ethan glanced at Lyra, who was adjusting small devices on the station console, her violet eyes calm and focused. She smiled faintly at him. "We are ready to begin the next phase," she said. "But first we must rest, recover, and reflect." Nira perched on a high shelf, golden eyes observing the room. "Learning never stops," she added, "even in calm moments. Preparation continues." Ethan nodded, understanding the depth of their meaning. Life in the quarters returned to a new rhythm, different from before the confrontation. Ethan found himself teaching Lyra and Nira small human customs, making tea, organizing tools, and even simple games to pass time. Lyra quickly picked up habits, adding her own elegance to each task, while Nira experimented in precise and sometimes unusual ways, creating moments of laughter and curiosity. During quiet evenings, they gathered near the observation window, gazing at distant galaxies and nebulae. Ethan shared stories of Earth, oceans, mountains, and city lights, while Lyra and Nira spoke of their worlds, technologies, and cultures. Each story built understanding, connection, and mutual respect, bridging the gap between species in ways words alone could not. The AI occasionally projected missions and updates, but now Ethan felt a sense of control, not fear. He realized that the experiences of recent days, danger, teamwork, and revelation, had prepared him for whatever might come next. Lyra and Nira were not only companions but partners, advisors, and friends, their trust in him as strong as his trust in them. One morning, Ethan experimented with a small project he had delayed, constructing a device to enhance communications between allied species. Lyra observed carefully, her delicate fingers hovering over panels, suggesting improvements. Nira interfaced with the station systems, testing energy flows and making minor adjustments. The device came alive, functioning perfectly, a symbol of collaboration, intelligence, and shared effort. They shared meals that were now a mixture of human and alien flavors, experimenting with combinations that were both nutritious and strange. Ethan laughed as Nira tried a human energy bar with a glow crystal, causing a small sparkle cloud to rise above the table. Lyra simply shook her head with a smile. "You both make life interesting," she said softly, and Ethan felt warmth in the simple moment. Even routine maintenance became a learning experience. Ethan explaining human systems, Lyra suggesting improvements with subtle energy manipulation, and Nira refining efficiency with calculations and intuition. The station itself seemed alive with collaboration, harmony, and the presence of three beings who now truly understood one another. In the evenings, the trio often sat quietly, reflecting on the events that had brought them together, the unexpected assignment, the dangers faced, the revelations from the AI, and the victories earned through trust and courage. Ethan realized that life had changed in ways he could not have imagined, his heart full of gratitude for the companionship, guidance, and loyalty of Lyra and Nira. The AI spoke occasionally, projecting messages of ongoing missions and distant challenges. But Ethan no longer felt pressure, only purpose. He had grown, adapted, and proved that humans, when combined with courage, morality, and ingenuity, could thrive in a galaxy of unknowns. Lyra and Nira's presence had taught him lessons of patience, perception, and cooperation, strengthening his abilities beyond expectation. One night, as the station drifted through quiet space, Ethan whispered softly, "We have faced danger, learned, and survived together. But the best part is what comes next." Lyra and Nira smiled, each in their own way, acknowledging the shared journey. The stars outside seemed to sparkle brighter, reflecting the bond between the three, a silent witness to trust, courage, and HFY ideals. Ethan felt a deep sense of peace, understanding that the unexpected assignment had led to growth, connection, and purpose. The station was no longer just a home or a workplace. It was a symbol of unity, resilience, and the strength of partnership. Lyra and Nira had become more than alien companions. They were family, mentors, and allies. As the first hints of a distant nebula glowed outside the observation window, Ethan took a deep breath, ready for whatever the future held. "We are ready," he said quietly, a smile forming. "Together, we can face anything." Lyra placed a gentle hand on his arm. Nira's eyes shimmered with quiet agreement, and the stars beyond reflected a promise of adventures yet to come. The station hummed softly around them, alive with life, learning, and the energy of a human and two alien companions who had overcome danger, discovered purpose, and built bonds stronger than any challenge. Ethan whispered one last thought to himself. New beginnings and endless possibilities, as the galaxy stretched before them, full of mystery, wonder, and hope.